Good day to everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of your regular HR Digest, proudly brought to you by Sedat Consult, your trusted HR partner. Each week, we bring you relevant workplace topics designed to help us grow, improve, and become better professionals. And today is no exception. Before we proceed, we will encourage you to be generous and share the link with your colleagues so they can connect and be informed. At Sedat, we offer various services, including staff outsourcing, employee engagement, training and development, payroll outsourcing, and other services as shown on the screen. Feel free to contact us on 0244 629245 or 0591 405555, and we will be there to assist with your business needs. Kindly let us know in the comments section where you connected from. Let us have your name and where you are watching from. Remember, this platform is for learning, unlearning, and relearning. Also, we have a dedicated WhatsApp group where we continue the conversation. We share valuable HR insights and offer you the opportunity to network with other professionals. If you would like to join, simply drop your number in the comment section and we'll be glad to add you to the platform. Well, today's conversation is on a topic that lies at the heart of authentic leadership, one that most of us may be familiar with: emotional intelligence for managers. Maya Angelou once said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." In today's workplace, emotional intelligence, not just IQ, determines how well managers connect, inspire, and lead. It's no longer optional. It is essential. And to help us unpack this in a practical, thoughtful, and meaningful way, we are privileged today to be joined by one of Ghana's finest HR minds. I'm sure he's a familiar face here, and for most of us who have been on this show, this platform, we will have an idea of who he is. He is a respected HR professional with over 2 decades of experience across HR management, leadership development, organizational design, strategy, executive coaching, and employee relations. He is not just a thought leader, he is a practitioner, a teacher, a coach, and a voice of reason in leadership circles. He has worked both in Ghana and the UK, and taught at the Ghana Employers Association, and holds an MBA in employee relations from the UK. He currently is a director of HR and administration at Valco. Please help me welcome our speaker for today, Mr. 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐨.
Thank you very much.
We are so honored to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sophie. You're making my dark skin blush with all the with all the nice things you said about me. But thank you very much. I am indeed honored and privileged to be here. I always deem these sessions to be a privilege because there are so many people who have a lot to share. So anytime I'm called upon, I don't take it lightly. And so I am happy and privileged to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure having you once again. And we will have to take notes, as we know we are going to learn a lot from your years of experience. And we want to And directly into what we have for the day. All right. So, to kick things off, we'll begin with getting to know what the topic is all about. What will you say is emotional intelligence, and how is it different from traditional intelligence or IQ, especially for those in leadership roles?
Okay. Thank you, Sophie. Very important question for us to set the ball rolling. There are quite some interesting definitions for emotional intelligence. I like the one by Daniel Goleman for its simplicity. So Daniel Goleman defines emotional intelligence as the ability to manage ourselves and our relationships effectively. Our ability or the ability to manage ourselves and our relationships effectively. So in the nutshell, that really is what it comes down to when you talk about emotional intelligence. However, to expand that, we can look at the extended definition, which looks at emotional intelligence as the ability to recognize your own emotions and those of others. So there is the recognition, and then there is the understanding of what those emotions mean. What this means is that you must have a repertoire of emotions. Sometimes people just bring down emotions to just sad and happy. So when they see you and you look a certain way, you are sad. But probably you are pensive. So there's a need for you to understand those emotions, and then also to manage your emotions in healthy ways. There are ways you can manage emotions that may not be healthy, even for yourself. And then also use emotions to guide thinking and behavior. And then last but not least, build strong relationships and make social decisions. So basically, this is what emotional intelligence is about. As I said, simply put, the ability to manage ourselves and our relationships effectively. Now, you also asked, how is this different from IQ?
Traditional IQ.
What is termed intelligence quotient. So IQ is a measure of cognitive intelligence. The measure of cognitive intelligence. In other words, logical reasoning, problem-solving ability, mathematical skills, linguistic ability, memory, and processing speed. So you'll find that sometimes when you listen to somebody speak, let's say somebody who has a PhD against their name, and they are speaking the English language and they are not very fluent, people can ask, I thought this person is a PhD.
PhD holder. Yeah.
Yeah, so because linguistic ability is part of the cognitive intelligence, same as memory and processing speed. So I don't know, but at the time I was going to school, primary school, we have something we call dictation or mental.
Yeah.
When you are asked the question, the speed at which you are able to respond and respond correctly means a lot. So that is the measure of, or what is termed as intelligence quotient. The various parts I mentioned, i.e., logical reasoning, problem solving, and mathematical skills, linguistic ability, memory and processing speed. So, and that for a long time, traditionally, that is what, if you have these, then you are deemed to be intelligent.
Intelligent, yeah.
Yeah, so now one may ask the question, or as part of the question, so what's the difference between the two? So IQ will get you through school, because really, when you are going through school, that is what you need to pass your exams. Your ability to understand the concept, to be able to argue your points out logically, solve problems, and be able to have a retentive memory and what have you. So that will get you through school. But emotional intelligence will get you through life.
Wow.
Yes, one will get you through school, the other will get you through life. So there is this research that was done by Harvard Business School, and they followed their students 20 years into their work life. And they found out that those who had first class living school had not done so well in the world of work, whether owning their own business or working for others, and rather those with lower GPA, who rather had social skills, who built networks while they were in school or were adept in fostering relationships, they had performed better. And so it goes to prove the point that emotional intelligence will get you through life in the corporate world as well. So IQ will get you through school, but EQ will get you through life. And then also, you can be intellectually brilliant, but socially ineffective if your EQ is low. That is, if your emotional intelligence is low, you can be very intelligent in terms of your IQ. However, socially, you may have a deficit. And then in leadership, emotional intelligence often matters more than IQ for success, influence, and collaboration. Because once you become a leader, you are working with others. You need other people to work for you, or you work through people or with people. And so your technical knowledge or your cognitive intelligence may not take you far with people, but rather how you're able to relate with people is what will count. Yes. So I hope I've answered your question.
Sure. Thank you so much. That was great. IQ.
Oh, yes, I think as part of, I think you asked something, how this relates with leaders in the workplace.
With leaders, especially for those in leadership roles. Yeah.
Exactly. So, for example, so we will say that emotional intelligence is the difference between a boss and a leader. In today's workplace, where emotional connection, psychological safety, and adaptability are key, having emotional intelligence is not just a nice to have, but it's a mission critical skill to have. So you need to have that skill, especially now. You realize that in the workplace we have about 3 different generations.
Yeah. In the workplace. Yeah.
So you need emotional intelligence that will help you to adapt your approach to these different generations that we have. Without that, you will have a one-size-fits-all approach, and it will backfire in your face. So that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So for leadership, it's very vital for success, for influence, and for collaboration. Thank you so much, Mr. Suman. Your IQ will get you through school. However, your EQ, emotional intelligence, will get you through life. And that is a must-have skill, something that we should really take into consideration. Thank you so much for the education on this, and we'll encourage you to kindly share your name and where you connecting from. I can see some few contacts. We have here 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢 from the Ashanti region. 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐢 from the Ashanti region. Thank you so much for connecting with us. We have Shadi Linda Enin, also from Kumasi. Thank you so much for connecting. Let us share the link, invite others to join us, and also be well informed. This is a topic that is going to help us grow and improve in our interaction and also with what we do at the workplace. Thank you so much. Kindly keep sharing. Let us know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, kindly post them in the comment section and we will take time to have them answered. I can see Frank Ahenkra from the USA. Thank you, Frank, for connecting. If you have any questions, any suggestions, or any comments, feel free to have them posted and we will respond in due time. All right, so we'll move on and we want to know, Mr. Suman, with emotional intelligence, still on the topic, do you think it's something we are born with or can it be developed over time? Do you think it's something that can be developed or it's something that is innately gotten?
Very good question. So, emotional intelligence is a learned behavior, first and foremost. It's a learned behavior. What it means is that you can train yourself to become emotionally intelligent. However, there are some people who are born with certain baseline potential that makes them, or that makes it easier for them to become or to learn emotional intelligence easier or faster than others.
Yeah.
So yes. So, and these are basically, for some people, they are empathetic, they are self-aware, they are calm under pressure, they are socially skilled, and it's just because of their genetics or their temperament or their early childhood upbringing. If you are brought up by parents who are calm and collected, who will help you to go through life and how to deal with situations, you learn that as you grow along. And if you are also raised in an environment where everything is dealt with in a harsh manner,
Yeah.
the child will imbibe that. So the three key things that determines or that helps some people have the better potential than others is the genetics, the temperament, and the early childhood upbringing. So nobody is stuck with emotional intelligence that they were born with. As against when it comes to intelligent quotient, whatever your intelligent quotient is at your adolescent age,
Yeah.
that is what you are stuck with for the rest of your life. But with emotional intelligence, you have the potential to build on it and to grow in it. And so with effort, with self-awareness, with coaching and the right environment, you'll be able to improve and develop your EQ. So that will be my response. No matter what you are born with, there is still the potential for you to grow
learn
better. Exactly.
Yeah. So the childhood upbringing plays a role as well.
Oh yes,
in
it does.
that. Yeah. Thank you so much. Temperaments are very vital. Yeah, that's very true, and they do play an essential role. Thank you so much, Mr. Suman. I can see Billy Combian online. Bill from Tamale. Thank you for joining. Kindly feel free to post your questions and we will have them attended to. All right, I think I've already mentioned Frank on the line, Frank Ahenkra. All right, so moving on, for emotional intelligence, I'm sure there are some core components. Kindly share with us what the core components of emotional intelligence are and how do they show up in leadership?
Okay, again, another brilliant question. So once again, I will use. In fact, I like citing Daniel Goleman because in our contemporary times, he is seen as the father of emotional intelligence, and his concepts are very easy to understand. So he has this emotional competence framework that I will use to explain the components of emotional intelligence. So he groups these competencies into two broad areas: personal competence and social competence. So under personal competence, he has self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation. And then under social competence, he has empathy and social skills. So that makes 5 components. So let me take each of them and how they relate to leadership. So self-awareness in leadership, you understand how your mood affects team morale. So you are self-aware. As a leader, you must know that your personality has effects on your team. So you must understand how your mood affects team morale. You must be someone who okay, before I come to that, I have an example I always cite that and it's a personal example. Personally, on Mondays, I go to work with a very sharp mind because I think through my work over the weekends. And so Monday mornings, I'm very sharp in terms of, so let's say work we're supposed to have done the previous week or work I assigned to my team members. So once upon a time, in one of the organizations I used to work, we used to have our departmental meetings on Monday mornings. And I always realize that every time after our meetings, my team members, their spirit dips. So one day I asked the question and they told me that, well, Abu, when we have Mondays, you are very irritable. Okay. You have a very short fuse, and it's just because I have thought through every work I have assigned. So when I ask you to give me an update of your work, I want you to go straight to the point. So if you've not done the work and you are now beating about the bush,
yeah,
you have the patience to listen to you. And in so doing, I'll be, having a go at them, and that was affecting
their spirit.
Yes. Yeah. So we had an agreement that we will not have departmental meetings Monday mornings. We'll move it to Tuesday. At least Tuesdays,
you'll be a bit
relaxed. Yes. Yeah. And that really helped the team cohesion. And I realized that even their performance in terms of delivering on their task was better. So they were not coming to work Monday mornings afraid that
you lash out at them.
I was going to give them the Monday blues. So understanding how your mood affects your team morale is very important, and that comes with the self-awareness. And then also as a leader, you must have the awareness to be able to admit your mistakes or limitations without being defensive. Again, I have another personal example. So, again, in one of the organizations I worked, we did an employee survey.
Okay.
And at the time, but I had just joined the company as head of HR, and I was in the process of turning things around because I realized that HR had a lot of responsibility. The company had just gone through a measure or an acquisition. So this is a new company trying to bring its ethos and culture into the new organization. And these things, it's HR that drives them. But I realized that the HR department was not equipped to be able to handle that responsibility. So I was in the process of changing the dynamics in the HR department. Unknown to me, that process I was going through was creating a lot of bad blood for me and my team. So when we did the employee engagement survey, HR was among the worst departments. And you see, meanwhile, this is a team we roll, we talk, so on the surface, everything looks fine. But underneath, there were these issues. So there was a day I just called my team into my office and I told them that. So I gave them A4 sheets and I said, yes, I know there are certain things you like about me, but I want you to write all the things you don't like about how I relate with you, how I manage this department. And boy, oh boy, I had
feedback you're not expecting.
Earful, So, but I gave them a certain assurance. I told them that I will not be defensive. I will not try to justify any of the things they write, even if I disagree. And I realized that is what gave them that
the confidence to
write the things they wrote. And I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
So that I could work on it. So it's important as a leader, if you know that you are a bit rough on the edges, when your team members give you feedback, you shouldn't be
defensive.
To be defensive. And then there's also again under self-awareness, you should be aware when you are under stress and communicate that clearly. When you yourself, you should know that if you are under stress, you will bring that on your team. So you must know what your stresses are and make sure that you are not escalating that onto your team members. So that is under self-awareness. Under self-regulation, as a leader, learn how to stay calm even in tense situations. Because when the pressure is on, everybody will be, or your team members, they will be running helter-skelter. But you need to be the calmness within the team. So it's important that you are able to self-regulate yourself. So you must have ways by which you are able to distress so that you can be the calm waters for them.
Yeah.
And also, you should learn to respond and not to react during conflict. And conflict can happen between you and your team members, or they can happen between team members. Even if it happens between you and a team member, you must always show leadership by learning to respond rather than to react. Reaction will always not end well. And then also you must think before speaking. And emotions and fairness. Yes, one of the attributes of emotional intelligence is to defer judgment,
Okay.
not quick to respond. So there are times when even when you send an email, you must get up, walk around, come back, read it again before you send it.
Yeah.
Yes. If you go ahead and you send the email with emotions in there, you may damage somebody and you wouldn't know that you have done that to that person. And you should know that when you are sending an email, there is no emotions in the email. The person cannot see your body language. They cannot see your facial expressions. So they don't know whether you were smiling or you were angry. Yes. And so you must be careful
in the choice of words.
Exactly are going to tell about you. Then the next one is motivation under the personal competence. So the last one is motivation before we move on to the social competence. So again, under motivation, as a leader, you must stay optimistic and focus even in adversity. So you must have an intrinsic motivation that drives you, so that you are not always affected by things that
are thrown at you.
Exactly. And then you must set high standards for yourself and your team. Your standards shouldn't be because of extraneous rewards that you will receive. And then you have to be passionate about long-term vision and not just about short-term gains. Most often than not, we are driven by the immediate gratification. So we send something or we do something and then we get, oh, thank you for this. And that is what drives us. But we should be looking at the long-term gains, and because usually that is more sustainable, that is more enduring. So we should look at that. So these are the three and how they
under personal competence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then under social competence, you have the empathy.
Empathy. Yeah.
Empathy is your sense when team members are struggling, even if they don't say it. So how are you able to sense that the team member is having an issue? Sometimes they will even be having issues at home. That gauge for you to, so you have this team member, every time he's bubbly, probably he's the one who keeps the team laughing all the time. And then for some days, this person comes and he's moody or is quiet. As a team leader, you must be able to sense this so that you don't put so much pressure on that team member, because you should know what that team member is going through. And you should be able to listen deeply without judgment. These days, the phrase is that we
listen, we don't judge.
Yes, sometimes we are quick to be judgmental.
That's true.
When we are judgmental, we will not be. And you see, sometimes these are. So I read a certain quote by a certain man called Mufti Menk. He said that we should try and give excuses for people when they do wrongs, because we always give excuse to ourselves. There's so many times that we make mistakes, but we find excuse for ourselves. Oh,
exactly.
I made a mistake because I wasn't in the right frame of mind. Oh, because I was hungry. Oh, because I didn't have money on me.
A lot of things.
Yeah. We always find a reason why we make certain mistakes. But we are quick to judge people when they make similar mistakes. So the same way we make excuses for ourselves, let's try and make excuse for others as well. And then also we should make decisions that by considering how others will be affected. Anytime we are making decisions, let us look at, okay, how is this going to affect the larger team? And so that is how empathy will be displayed by the leader. And last but not the least is the social skills. you have to communicate clearly and respectfully. Communicate with clarity, especially when we are giving instructions to our team members. Sometimes we just give the instructions and it's vague. Even we ourselves, if we later look at that instruction,
so ambiguous,
how to even understand. So, but most often, when your team member want to seek clarity and they ask you, Abu, what exactly do you mean by that? Because you yourself, you don't even understand the instructions you gave, then you get angry. Yes. To cover the fact that you don't even understand.
Yeah.
So when we are communicating, let us communicate clearly and let us be respectful. There are certain words, choice of words you use that talk down on people. You know, these days, even with our kids at home, you talk to them in a certain way and their body language will change.
Yeah.
Because they feel that you are talking down on them. They want you to reason even at their level.
Yeah.
How much adults in the workplace who are also parents, you know. So let us be respectful when we talk to people. Let us resolve conflict diplomatically. Let us talk with tact. There are situations when they come up, we need to find the best way. I always say that there is always the best way of handling any situation you are confronted with. But most often than not, we go for the first solution that comes to us. And usually that will be the least path of resistance. So we should always, make sure that we are interrogating the options we have to make sure we are going for the best option available. And then when we make decisions, let's consider, you build trust, rally teams, and lead by example. That word, that 5-letter word, trust, in fact, it's the whole topic in itself. If your team members mistrust you, there is nothing. In fact, everything you say, they will be guessing you. They'll be thinking, what exactly do you mean? What were you trying to say? So they will ascribe your words, they will put it under the microscope. Yes.
Yeah.
They will be
scrutinize everything.
They will even overthink it. And that anytime they do that, then it means that there is lack of trust. So you must make sure that you build trust. And to be able to build trust, you should be able to show your vulnerability to your team members. Show them that you are also human after all.
Sometimes that's something difficult to do.
Exactly. Sometimes as managers, we behave as if we are all in all, you know. So a team member comes to you and asks, so this simple thing you don't understand.
Yeah.
You behave as if you are sitting on some ivory tower somewhere.
Yeah.
We have to let our team members see our vulnerability. That's how we build trust, so that we can rally them, and then also we lead by example. So that is how the components of emotional intelligence translates into leadership behaviors.
Wow. It's really been an in-depth explanation for the core components of emotional intelligence, I think, by Daniel Goleman, from what you rightly said. Thank you so much. Personal competence and social competence, where you shared on self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, and under the social competence, empathy and social skills. These are really worth understanding so that we could be able to lead and work well with our team members. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm just reminded of a quote, something from John Maxwell, on the fact that you cannot manage other people unless you manage yourself first. And I'm sure that plays a role here. Sometimes we are just quick to manage others, and we actually need help managing ourselves.
Yeah. In fact, John Marshall calls it leading self.
Leading self, okay.
If you read his book, The 360-Degree Leader, it talks a lot about how to lead self. And in fact, it's one book I read, and it's made a big difference in my life. Very early on in my leadership journey, I had access to that book. And leading self, in in fact, the 360-degree leader, it's a book I recommend to everybody, whether you are in a position, sometimes people equate position to leadership.
To leadership, yeah.
But that is a myth. You can, in fact, how well you lead yourself will show how influential you are. And so it doesn't matter where you sit in the organization,
whether you have the title or not.
Yes, you can be influencing even those at the top, and they will not even know that you are influencing them.
Wow. The 360-degree leadership. I think that's worth recommending, and we'll try and read it and see how best we can improve on our leadership skills. Thanks for recommending, Mr. Isuman. And before we proceed, I just want to acknowledge some viewers, some on the platform. Then we will take a quick break and get back online. So I can see a message from Obed. Obed says, very educative. Good job, guys. All right. Thank you so much, Obed, for following through. Obed says, I have a question and I wish Mr. Abu can help. All right, we will get to that. Judith, thanks for joining us. Judith from Agona Swedru, thanks for joining us. And Jemima as well. Jemima Adefio, thanks for joining. Aishatu Ali from Lashibi, thanks for joining. All right, so there are some few questions here. We will take a quick break, and once we resume, we will attend to the questions. Thank you so much, and let's stay in touch. We'll resume right away. All right, so we have some upcoming programs, and I just want to walk us through that. We have one coming up from the 29th to the 31st of July this year, using analytics to measure HR's contribution. And that is taken off at the SEDAT conference room in Accra here, using analytics to measure HR's contribution. So we'll encourage you to register. And for HR practitioners who want to learn how to use Microsoft Excel to practically analyze data and create dashboards for effective reporting and decision making, we will urge you to register. So I'm sure you can see that on the screen. Kindly take note and let us register so we can gain the knowledge and apply them in our career respectively. Also, we have another one coming up, and that is the Kids Leadership Academy, Developing Future Leaders Today, and that is on the 9th of August 2025. And that is a session for kids ranging between the ages of 6 and 19 years old. So transforming and empowering children and young adults by equipping them with the essential skills to become well-rounded and effective individuals and future leaders. There's quite a lot, to be done within that period. And registration is for 1,000 cedis. And that is going to cover the learning materials and snack time with lunch. So we have critical and creative thinking, emotional intelligence for kids. Yeah, kids equally need to learn that. And like Mr. Suman rightly mentioned, our childhood upbringing play a critical role in this. Also, they will have the chance of working on creative writing skills, communication and public speaking skills, financial literacy, also important, digital literacy, and many more. So we will share updates on this on our social media handles. Feel free to follow us. Feel free to subscribe so that you're always updated on what's going on at SEDAT. Last but not the least, we have an upcoming 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐨 HR Digest soiree, and that is on the 1st of August 2025. It's a Saturday, and it's a time to wind down. So I know we've always been up and professionally going about our day-to-day business, but there comes a time where you need to just unwind and get to connect with other people, other professionals, and let's see how best we can make the day worth remembering. So it's going to take place at 4 p.m. at the British Council Auditorium. Feel free to reach out to us on 059 140 5555 or 0244 629245. The rate is a cool 200 cedis. We will encourage us all to share the information and invite our colleagues, invite our team members, invite others, and let's network and share thoughts together. All right. Thank you so much. So we want to move on. And like I mentioned, I've seen quite a number of messages coming through. Mr. Suman is really feeding us with much information, even though our time is getting close, but we'll see how best we can put everything together and wrap up very well. So I have a question, Mr. Suman, but I'm also having a question from Obed. Okay, let me take this first and then we will zoom back to other questions that are coming through. So, how can you build a broken loyalty? I'm sure that's got to do with the trust issue you mentioned. How can you build broken loyalty? And how do you deal with leaders who disregard subordinates' emotions and disrespect them daily? I think that's a two-in-one question. And I'm sure it's on the trust issue.
Okay, so I believe that the broken loyalty and leaders disrespecting, we can take all of that in one. So yes, I did indicate early on when I spoke about the fact that when there is mistrust, it will be difficult for your team members to bond properly with you, and that is when they will be second guessing you all the time. So from the leader's side, there's a need to have a frank conversation. Whatever happened for that loyalty to be broken, there must be a frank conversation. There must be people should be willing to go beyond or to go through their vulnerabilities. You know, sometimes when people are holding things very closely to their chest, it's because they are afraid that if you get so close, maybe there's something that you can use against them. There's an exercise I usually do when I'm training on trust. It's called the ABCD of trust. And by the time you are done going through that exercise, you realize that the least people put premium on when it comes to trust is the job itself, or the core job. The others are on what we call the soft side.
Okay.
So how trustworthy are you? Your honesty, how much care do you show? People look at that and determine whether you are trust or whether they should put their trust in you. So whatever it is that happened for the loyalty to be broken, there's a need for an and a very frank discussion to be had. Just like I mentioned to you earlier, where I, as a leader, I told my team that
to write on what you don't like about you.
Exactly. As the leader, you must show the way. You must show them, give them a safe space to be able to air what their grievance is. Without that, then it will be difficult to even solve whatever problem there is. Then on the side of the team member, they must be willing to go through the process, and also they must give their leader the benefit of the doubt. Yes. So because sometimes the leader may be making efforts to do something and the team is suspicious. Once you're suspicious, there is this story of the black ant and the red ant that I usually tell. So the story is that the black ant eats sugar, the black ant eats salt, the red ant eats sugar. Both of them, were, or each of them were, saying that whatever they eat is better than the other.
Okay.
So one day they agreed that, okay, so the red ant said, okay, I'll come to your house to come and eat your salt and see how it tastes like. But before he went, he rinsed his mouth of any sugar, went to eat the salt, and then said, well, the salt tastes nice, but I want you to also come and eat mine so that together we can. But when the black ant was going, he left one piece of salt under his tank.
Yeah.
So now he went, as soon as he started eating the sugar, the combination of the sugar and the salt gave a very horrible taste. So he said, no, this is horrible. How can you say sugar is sweet? So the red ant was amazed. He said, did you rinse your mouth before you came? He said, yes, I did. It's okay, don't worry. You take water, rinse your mouth. So now he rinsed the mouth, tasted the sugar, and realized that, oh, wow, but the sugar tastes better. Nice. So the moral of the story here is, when we are reaching out to others and at the back of our heads, we have a certain bias. It is always difficult to get to the bottom of the matter or to make inroads. And so what I'll tell this gentleman is that on the side of a team member, if your team leader is trying to mend a broken loyalty, give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't go in there with the bias that, oh, this one, they're just doing it for show or something. So don't put more premium on it. So for me, that is how you deal with these matters. Having a frank conversation, each party being heard, and then taking steps to go beyond whatever has been done. So that is what, in terms of the leader who shows disrespect, I think that leader needs a big dose of emotional intelligence. So I'll just recommend to any leader in that situation that sometimes it is not just the technical
expertise,
exactly, but they need to know that, see, when at the higher level, the higher you go, the less technical competence you need. You need more social competence. How do people feel around you? I've been in boardrooms where we are discussing promotion, how to promote some people up, and the comment that, or the reason why someone will not be promoted is, oh, this guy, he doesn't respect, or this guy, he talks to people anyhow,
regardless of his technical expertise.
Exactly. And so that will prevent you from moving up just because of how you relate with people. So I think it's important we take note of this. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's good. Thank you so much. I think, like you said, the EQ is what will take you through life and help with promotion, because it's vital to have that. Thank you, Mr. Suman, and I'm sure Obed, you've been rightly answered. I have another question here from Billy Combian. Okay, great insights from the presentation. Does applying emotional intelligence translate into sidestepping discipline at the workplace?
Can you repeat that for me?
Does applying emotional intelligence translate into sidestepping discipline at the workplace?
Okay, right. I get this question every time I train on emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And my answer has always been that there is a disciplinary policy that should never be sidestepped.
Okay.
Yes. So if there are policies, if someone flouts the policy or there's an infraction, let's follow through the disciplinary process. However, it is the how it is done. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in. I have counseled or disengaged, or for lack of a better, I have sacked people from the workplace. But in the process, I did not demean them.
Yeah.
They didn't feel demeaned in any way.
Of less value.
We even tell me, oh, Abu, this thing, I know I had done a horrible thing, but the way you have engaged me throughout the process, you've not judged me, and thank you for not letting me feel worse than I already feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how you deal with the process determines the emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is in no way saying that allow people to misbehave. But what we are saying is that even if you have to discipline people, how you do it matters.
Yeah.
Don't do it in a manner that makes somebody feel less of a human being. That is how I respond to this question.
Yeah. So we do not necessarily have to sidestep discipline. I mean, we still have to do what is expected, but still apply some degree of emotional intelligence while doing that.
Exactly.
Thank you. I can see a message from Frank. I enjoy listening to you. I learn a lot anytime I listen to you. Thank you so much, Mr. Suman. Also, I can see Osman Beidu. How would you suggest ways to deal with team members who are MBA and has decided to go by their old ways despite okay, he didn't complete it. Osman, you may want to complete what you were typing as I proceed with the next one. So Billy has a question. Thank you, sir, for your insights. What role does emotional intelligence play in employee discipline? Do we sidestep the code of conduct? I'm sure that's similar to what was just answered. I'm sure that, yeah, that's similar to that. Billy? Yes. All right. Bernadette. Bernadette says, how do you maneuver a culture where line managers are too familiar with their team members and so an HR who goes in there to want to put things right is tagged as bad? How do you maneuver a culture where line managers are too familiar with their team members and so an HR who goes in there, I guess with the intention of putting things right, is labeled as bad?
Okay, so see, HR people have the propensity to too rigid. Let me say that as a first point. Yes, it is okay for line managers to have a bonding with their team members. Of course, there's a line.
Yeah.
There are policies and procedures that should not be breached. But sometimes HR should understand that we are dealing with people, human beings, with blood and emotions, and not robots. So sometimes even some policies if may have to be handled with some flexibility so that we don't come across as distant or what's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes we come across as if we don't care. Okay, so there is, as I said, there is nothing wrong with line managers. Of course, I don't know whether the too familiar means that they are too friendly with them.
Too friendly with, yeah.
As long as the familiarity is not breeding contempt, as I say, familiarity breeds contempt. So if that familiarity is not breeding contempt to the point where there is indiscipline. So, and again, HR, you should remember that line managers have HR responsibilities as well.
Exactly.
Yes. So gone were the days when everything was centered in the HR department.
Yeah.
HR is a department and also a function.
Exactly.
As a function, line managers play that function. So what HR should do is to empower line managers to be able to play the HR function and not to centralize everything. So now, even if somebody's team member commits an offense, it's HR that will have to send a query to that person. No. HR will have to bring in the systems so that line managers feel empowered to act. So that would be my advice to this person who asked this question. To empower line managers, let them know what their responsibilities are when it comes to performing their functions. Of course, a manager has resources under their disposal to be able to manage their function. And among those resources is the human resource as well. So let's empower line managers to be able to perform their functions, and not that every little thing HR will now step in. So, and it will come across as if the line manager, and that's when line manager will say that, well, me, it's HR.
I wouldn't have said so.
So
the blame then goes to HR.
Exactly. So that way of performing HR duties is long past. Now, HR is performing like an advisory role. HR is a consultant to the line managers. So make sure that you're able to facilitate this in a manner that gives them a lot of these HR functions to perform at their level.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's great insight shared. Danielle says, thank you, boss. I don't get tired listening to you. Likewise, you always bring something new to what I already know. Thank you so much, Mr. Suman. You really are giving us much information, and we will put it to great use. I think Osman has updated his message, and we're actually running out of time. I want to just quickly wrap this up. So Usman was asking of how would you suggest ways to deal with team members who are MBA and have decided to go by their old ways, despite all efforts to bring them up to speed with the vision of the team. I think people who are long in service with the business and are still probably not complying. And we are talking about still applying some level of empathy and what have you. How do we handle such individuals?
Okay, so I want to understand this MBA to mean the local version. Not MBA as
no, academic, I doubt.
So yes, there are people who have been in the organization for a long time. They are used to old ways of doing things, and so it's difficult for them to change their ways. You see, I believe that every behavior can be unlearned and relearned.
Yeah.
The approach matters. So my advice to the questioner is to use the change management approach, because this is change. And so use the principles of change management to go through this. Make sure that you carry the people along, even for the changes that you are going to implement. Carry them along, get their views into arriving at what is to be done. most often than not, you'll be amazed the kind of input they will make in the process.
Sure.
But if you fail to engage them and you just want them to accept whatever you have brought, hook, line, and sinker, that is where they also will be resisting that change. So my advice is that engage them right from the onset, get their input into how things, of course, everybody knows that the world is changing, things are changing, but get their input and guide them with the change management principles. You can even select some of them as the change agents or the change ambassadors, and you'll be amazed what can be done. Right.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. So we need to involve them, and there may be things they will surely share with us. I have another question here from Frank. He says, what practical tools or resources would you recommend for leaders to continuously develop their emotional intelligence, in addition to the recommended book, I think, by John Maxwell?
Okay, so
yeah.
Let me just quickly go through some tools you can use. So, for example, one, the leader, you have to, as a leader, you should know that you are managing your own emotions and then that of others. So there is management of emotions. So how do you manage your own emotions? One is to practice self-awareness. You must, as a matter of importance, know, be aware of your own emotions. And so
know thyself.
Exactly, man, know thyself. And so the question you ask yourself is, anytime you feel a certain way, ask yourself, what am I feeling and why am I feeling this way? Okay. And then you must, another way, when you're under stress, you can journal, write how you are feeling, pour it down. See, sometimes when you vent, when you just talk about how you feel, that alone can solve, like, you feel so much better.
Yeah.
It works like that when you write or you journal as well. So you must write how you are feeling, name your emotions. So for example, I feel anxious because, let's say, there's a tight deadline that I have to meet. Once you are able to verbalize like that, it helps to put part of the problem aside, and then you move on as well. Then also you need to keep a short. Okay, so yes, I've mentioned the journaling. Then you must learn how to pause before responding. This thing, it's really welcome. Some people will tell you to breathe in and breathe out. So you are in a meeting, a team member says something, and don't take the bait to respond immediately. You can just breathe in and breathe out, or you can be counting 1 to 10 in your head before you respond. Okay, so pausing before you respond is another good way of dealing with your own emotions. And then also using certain grounding techniques. The breathing, again, is deep breathing is one of them. And then just walking. It is in this era where sometimes some meetings are even held virtually. Yes, you can be walking up and down just to calm yourself down before you say something that
you regret.
Exactly, And then also learn to speak slower and then softer. When tensions are high, be the calming voice in the room. Okay, you speak slower and softer, and it helps. Then now, you look at managing others' emotions. It's important to listen first before you fix. Sometimes we listen with the view to respond, and so we don't hear. as soon as the person starts speaking, you assume that you know where they are going, and so you shut off.
Okay.
You shut off, and then you are now thinking what you are going to say.
Of your response.
Exactly. So we should learn to listen, and active listening is when you are taking notes. It's when you are seeking clarification from the person. It's when, if the person is seated in front of you, you are giving them your full attention. Not that
Divided
somebody
attention.
in front of you is talking or saying something and then you are on your phone. You are not even listening.
Yeah.
So it's important that you have to listen first before you fix later. And then also you need to acknowledge your emotions. Don't dismiss emotions like anger or fear. Validate them. So say, okay, it makes sense that you feel upset.
Hello, Mr. Suman.
Made them understand that I can understand why they feel that way, and I would have felt the same way if I was in their shoes.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, it makes them understand that you feel their pain. So that is empathy. You show empathy at that point. So yes, these are some of the ways. And then also when you are handling a conflict situation, you don't have to stay neutral.
Yeah.
Sorry, you have to stay neutral and not
neutral.
numb. Don't be numb to the situation, but you can stay neutral. So that yes, the situation affects everybody. Let them know that yes, I feel this. We understand, but don't let us blame. Let us focus on solving this together. So these are some ways. I know time is not on our side, so
Yeah.
I can't go through everything. But these are tools that you can use to build
To develop our emotional intelligence. Well said, sir. Well said. Thank you so much. And I think I love the part of journaling and also listening completely. I think Maya Angelou said, when people talk, we need to listen completely. Most people never listen. We are always quick to retort, quick to react, and hardly understand or even engage with the people while they talk. So we need to learn to listen completely as we engage people. Thank you so much, Mr. Suman. All too soon, we will need to bring this to a wrap. But before we do so, I just want to know if there's just one thing you want to share with any manager to remember about emotional intelligence, what would it be? Any take away for us, something that we will need to leave here with on emotional intelligence?
All right, thank you, Sophie. That's very important. So if you don't remember anything from today, remember one thing you should take note is that emotionally intelligent leadership isn't about being nice. It's not about being nice. It's about being human. It's about being honest and being growth minded. By handling difficult conversations with empathy and clarity. Let us remember that I said earlier on, you are dealing with human beings.
Yeah.
So in every situation, let us go in with empathy, let us seek clarity, and let us know that managers build cultures where people feel safe, supported, and motivated to bring out their best. I have a quote that I always give when each time I teach emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And it's my own quote. It goes like this: achieving business goals is good and admirable, but your ability to build and maintain good relationships with others is a higher life goal. I'll repeat. Achieving business goals is good and admirable, but your ability to build and maintain good relationships with others is a higher life goal. So as leaders or as managers, let's keep this at the back of our minds at all times. That yes, in the midst of achieving the targets, pushing people to achieve the targets, let's remember, after we push the people to the point of breaking them, if tomorrow you see them somewhere else, outside the organization, outside the four walls of the organization, would you be happy to approach them? And do you think they will be happy to approach you and to say good things about you? Let us remember not to break people in our quest to meet or exceed our target. Let's remember that the relationship we are building is important. We build that because that is a higher life goal that we should achieve. Thank you very much, Sophie.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing with us. And your quote is really worth taking note of. Achieving goals is good and admirable, but your ability to build and maintain good relationship is a higher life goal. Thank you, sir, for sharing this. All too soon, we will need to bring this to a close. And once again, thank you for pouring your years of wisdom and experience into this conversation. And to everyone who joined, thank you for engaging. Remember, emotional intelligence isn't just about being soft, like he said, it's about being smart with emotions. And technical skills can open the doors, but emotional intelligence will help build legacies. And we'll need to learn to lead in a way people won't just remember, but they will feel that. Let's do well to follow Sedat Consult on all social media platforms for more powerful sessions to grow your leadership and career. And a quote from John Maxwell that I'll also end with is, you must first win the heart before you ask for a hand. You must first win the heart before you ask for a hand. Until next time, let's stay intentional, let's stay emotionally aware, and let's try hard to lead with excellence. Thank you so much. See you next week. Same time, same platform. God bless us all. Bye.